Better. Roll call with Ward 1 Commissioner Young. Present. Ward 2 Commissioner Amashay is absent. Ward 3 Commissioner Wheatley is present. Ward 4 Commissioner Givens. Present. Thank you. Ward, no, at-large Commissioner Yuri.
Commissioner Yuri is present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum, ladies and gentlemen, so we're gonna get started. So, for those who may not know me, my name is Wanda Wheatley. I'm the Commissioner Chair of the Town of Cotton City. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. I want to thank so many of you for coming out. I'm very pleased to see so many faces, so many friendly faces. So thank you again. Welcome. We're here to discuss our funds from the community, from the ARPA grant that we received from the federal government. For those who may not know, we did receive $1.1 million. So in an effort to get input from the community and get your feedback, we wanted to have a discussion with our community and our residents to hear what things you want to see done in the town, see what ideas you have, and hear your questions, comments, or concerns. So again, welcome. Thank you for coming, and I will hand the mic to our town manager, Ms. Carol Richardson.
Good evening, I'm Carol Richardson. I'm the town manager, and thank you for being here. As Commissioner Chair Wheaton said, we did receive $1.1 million in ARPA money, also known as the American Rescue Plan Act. As you know, with the pandemic, communities were, the revenue was down. So this is the federal government's way of replenishing some of that revenue and to help communities stay afloat, basically, and to also assist their residents who were affected by the pandemic. So it was broken up into two allocations, and we're on the second allocation now. We've given you a handout that shows some of the significant expenditures we've had for ARPA, but this is an opportunity not for us just to talk to you, but for you to talk to us. If there may be needs or issues or things that we may not have thought of that you feel need to be addressed in terms of what you see as a priority for your town. So don't hold back, feel free to share with us. And this is also an opportunity for you just to see your commissioner in person, because it's been a while. and just see some of the staff as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let the chief of police.
Carol, before you go on, can you tell us how much has been spent to date? I can't add all this up in my head.
And how much is left?
Yeah, I was trying to get that from our treasurer. So it looks like about 300 and some odd thousand is left.
Is that number right?
I'm not certain. I haven't heard back from the treasurer.
Yeah, I didn't think we allocated. I thought we only allocated half.
Okay, we may have more. I'll double check on that.
So we're around like 300,000 and 500,000.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we have Chief Anthony Ayers online. I apologize, we've had technical problems. And he's going to talk about some of the items that we bought for the police department. Chief Ayers.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Ayers. I'm the Chief of Police for Town of Carter City. Am I loud enough for everybody to hear me?
No.
Yes.
Okay, I got to talk up a little bit. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what we purchased for the police department or requested is pretty much the Bolo Wrap. The Bolo Wrap is a device that's non-lethal. Because of all the complaints we had nationwide with officers getting involved in apprehending suspects and have to go into hand apprehensions to the point where people are getting injured, officers getting injured. Sometimes we have situations where the use of force is beyond what is needed to make apprehensions. We thought this device would be a very good device to use.
Yeah.
Chief.
Yes,
Can you start again?
yes, I can. Can you hear me?
It's not over
I think it's
here,
in the
over
back.
here. Go ahead, keep talking. Let me hear where your speaker's at, Chief, on this computer. Keep talking.
Okay, can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
5, 6, 7,
Okay.
8.
I think that's better. It's better.
It's better.
Is this the highest it can go? Is this the highest this can go?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Chief. See if you can just try to talk loud because we don't want to turn it up too
Sure,
loud.
I try to talk loud.
Feedback.
Okay, I try to talk loud.
There you
Once
go.
again, to prevent officers get injured and also citizens get injured, we got a non-lethal device called the RAP system, where it's a system that deploys from a projectile pushing device that pushes a projectile with a cord that wraps around a person's waist, their arms, as well as their legs. This will hold a person for a while until we get to the point where we can put them in handcuffs. We thought this is a very good device to get due to the fact that across the country we have several officers being charged for abuse or using the wrong level of wrong level of trying to make the right apprehension, the right tools. This tool would actually help us detain the individual without harming the individual, and also makes it to a point where officers will not get injured trying to make an apprehension. So we obtained 5 devices. All our officers have been trained with it, and it has been deployed out into the streets. The next item we asked for was because of the pandemic, we had used a lot of our funds for food pantries and other things that we weren't able to get upgrade on our tough books inside our cruisers. And they were very old, they were over 8 years old. And of course, you know about software, and also computers, they get outdated, that you cannot fix them any longer. So we use some of the ARPA funds to upgrade our computer systems inside our vehicles. And this is how our officers write reports inside their vehicles, as well as receive calls for service. So it was very important for us to get that important upgrade. And so we used the ARPA funds to get that upgrade. And the next was 2 vehicles. Our fleet is very old fleet. We have our oldest vehicle in the fleet right now is a 2006 vehicle. And we try to get 2 new vehicles to upgrade our fleet. So right now we have $115,000 put aside for 2 vehicles. We should get these vehicles in the end of May. We did apply for another grant to actually be able to give some of that money, ARPA money, back to the ARPA funds back to the town after our grant. And so once we receive this vehicle, we'll be able to pay off the vehicle and be able to put some money back into the ARPA fund, because we got a grant, a grant to actually pay a portion of one of the vehicles. So, and that's all the items that we got for the police department at this time. And I'm here to answer any questions.
No.
You're
good.
For the chief. This one,
So all of that has been spent.
Well, in regards to, he was just speaking of his department. The other things on here that got go through and we discussed what has been already spent or placed into the program. All of it actually hasn't been spent. Some of it is in a program, but they haven't been always taken advantage of. So there's funds that are still available to the community for things, but rather than the program. So we're going to continue to go through that. One of the things we're doing for today is trying to put everything that are needed. I know there's some of the things that we are working on in regards to the outreach center, which is different, as well as the community outreach center, which you see up on that old firehouse. And looking, if that was given back to the fire department for $1. And so the idea is for programs to go within that are subsidized and to work with the private government partnership and to do outreach programs, i.e. health,
employment, perhaps some schooling and tutoring and stuff like that. But that is through a grant that we got a bond with that, so that's not gonna be a part of this. Anticipation for a possible community center, which is different, which is next door, trying to acquire the property here, is as well as different. So that's a different funding source. So what's left over is a pot of money. You're still trying to figure out what it is that you don't have to the end of to December 2024 to spend all of it. And it's my understanding that whatever's left over, it doesn't utilize it, it's returned back to the federal government.
With 2024.
Okay, just a correction. We have to have the money allocated by December 2024. You have to have it spent by 26.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So
And that wasn't the question she had. She asked if the police department had already allocated these 3 of money for ARPA.
Yes,
Okay, that
Oh,
was.
I'm sorry.
that answer to your question. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Got it, let's go on.
But you said it's been allocated, it's spent. Have the, for example, have the $115,000 for the 2 police cars, that money been paid?
Not yet, to my knowledge, the vehicles have not come in yet.
So we
They're on
don't
back
pay until
order.
they're delivered.
So once they're delivered, and they'll receive.
And then there's a grant behind some of that funding, so some of it will come back once the vehicles are actually here. We'll be entitled to get some of that money back with the grant. And I'm not sure.
It was about 37,000.
No, the grant, it was increased.
Uh-huh.
So the total grant is 60.
Okay.
And then they gave us 75% of the 60. So that will come back to the town.
Great.
And can I also note that for some of our COVID emergency supplies, we have reimbursement from the CARES Act as well.
That's separate money, that's a separate one. There's a question in the back.
I was just curious, are these police vehicles in addition to the vehicles we have, or replacements? If they are replacements, are the other ones sold for?
They are replacements because our fleet is very old and some of the cars have been breaking down.
Right.
And because we spent so much money to repair them, we decided to replace some of the vehicles. Again, we are seeking a grant for those vehicles and they are hybrids. So we're kind of, we're thinking about sustainability and we're thinking about the future of the.
Great.
Well, is there another question? Mr. Freeman? Any more questions in regards to the police department? Hearing none, we'll move to the next department, which is public works.
And before we do that, since you got the number to clarify how much has been spent, can you say it's correct what I said earlier?
Sure. So, rough estimate is 600,000, 105, and just a rough estimate looks like we have close to 490,000 left.
How much?
Around 490, a little under left. From what we have.
Okay.
And it's actually a little bit more than that, because again, while some of these things have been put in place, all of it's been allocated, all the funding has been used. A perfect example, you look at $100,000 for business program, and we got any businesses that apply, so we have one? Okay.
We have one that they came back twice.
And can I also note that Chief Ayers has also been very resourceful with the spending when it comes to police cars. I think we had our 2 trucks out there that we got for less than $100 in police option and other programs. So just because we allocated that amount for police cars, it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be spending all of it, but that's just what we budgeted for.
That's all right.
Not for our police cars, but for our 2 trucks.
Yeah, that's the money that was allocated for the trucks, of course, again, some of it will come back in the form of grant.
Yes. Yeah, but those vehicles were given to us, that we didn't pay for.
But it was,
Like a house or.
But what I'm saying, it wasn't a part of our ARPA funds, but in the past, that's what I'm saying, we got cars in a very resourceful way. So we hope to also look for the same with these cars as well.
And keep in mind that, the police department, along with the grant manager, they are applying for grants to get some money reimbursed for those two vehicles, so some of the money may be returned. Is the grant been approved?
The one for USDA, it has been approved.
So we are getting,
Yeah.
so we will get some of them.
Great.
Next.
All right, so for Public Works, we were able to obtain hello everyone. How y'all doing? My name is Greg. I'm the Public Works Director here, if you don't know. For Public Works Department, we obtained a Bobcat for $57,000. This Bobcat was, the thought in mind for this Bobcat was so that we could be able to move dirt, move things, dig things. Also in the wintertime, be able to clean off the sidewalks where we usually pile a lot of snow at the end of the streets. To be able to clean that stuff out, it's not always easy to do it with a snow blower because it'd be so much, and by the time we go to clean it up, it's ice. So the Bobcat does help with that. And then also, we're looking to transition the lean-to that's down at the shop to a salt barn, so we can start housing our own salt. With housing our own salt, we need to be able to get it into the back of the salt spreader. So the Bobcat comes in hand with that as well. We also use it, we got a regular bucket, and we got the forks that go in the Bobcat, so we can be able to move pallets around, which has helped us a lot with the distribution of food and moving pallets of water and things that's been donated to the town. Being able to move it around without manual labor, but being able to do it and saving the backs of our staff and Public Works, as well as the police department and commissioner, who usually help try to move some of this stuff around. So the Bobcat is already paid dividend with the money that we've spent. And of course, this year we didn't have a whole lot of snow, so we didn't really get to use it during the winter months for snow. But I mean, outside of snow, we've still been using it, and it has helped us tremendously. Then we also had a message board sign that we got. I don't know if you driven up Ladiesburg Road anytime today, but it's out there today. I believe by 40th place. On the corner of Ladiesburg and 40th place, which lets residents know, lets people know that we're having a meeting today, we're having events. If there's some type of emergency, if the chief wanted to put some type of alert out looking for a certain type of vehicle or looking for a child or something, wanted to put a number up, we could put all that stuff on the message board. It's movable, so we can move it from street to street. We can put it in Ward 1 to advertise Cottage City Day. Even though we have the message board outside in the front, on this side, we have nothing in Ward 1 to really highlight anything that's going on. So we're able to move that message board around. It also serves as a traffic control device, which we can let people know what the speed limit is. We can tell them to slow down, or, during the holiday season, we can tell them to buckle up, because a lot of people during the holiday season don't drive with seatbelts. So that message board has been used quite often. We're looking to be able to use it a lot more with some of the things that we got coming up. In reference to things that we're looking into trying to use ARPA funds with, even in this current physical year, is possibly, if we don't have enough money in the budget to do it, is to change these parking lot lights, which haven't been changed in about 8 years now. They're LED lights, so they lasted a long time, but once one go out, it's a trickle effect. They'll all start to go out, and you actually have to change the whole head of it. It's not just a bulb that you can change. And we have, I believe it's 4 lights out now, 2 or 3 in the parking lot, and there's 1 out here that are out. So we are, the commission already have information on the parking lot lights, and at the next month's meeting, we plan to make a decision on a vendor for that and possibly get all those lights changed. to make this parking lot a lot brighter, a lot safer. That's not something that we knew was gonna happen. Of course, it wasn't budgeted for. If we have the money, we'll do it, but if not, it possibly may come out of ARPA. Another thing is, I'm not sure if you guys have been down to Top Lot and seen things that's going on down at the Top Lot. We did get a grant for that for $50,000, but then the rest of the remainder of the money, which was, I believe, $41,000, came from out of ARPA to ensure that we got a Top Lot that had enough stuff inside the Top Lot. Right now, we're looking to use ARPA money to do the fencing around the Top Lot so that we can just do a whole total overall upgrade on that Top Lot and make it nice and make it effective for the community. We did some gazebo improvements. I'm skipping down to the community section because she wanted me to go ahead, since I'm here, to go ahead and address those things. So the Top Lot is in there. We did purchase the Top Lot. And then we had the canopy, tree canopy committee that's using $44,000 of that money. And then we did some upgrades. I'm not sure if anybody been out here, but we put a kind of like grill with the roofing system on it out in the under the gazebos over here. We also put pavers and things down to make it very nice, so that the residents can be able to come out, sit down, enjoy themselves. If you want to eat lunch, you can go out there. You can also rent the gazebo if you wanted to have like a small party or something like that, small function. You're able to rent the gazebo. This was a new addition that the commission thought would be nice, and it came out pretty good. We didn't spend a whole lot of money on the labor and stuff because Public Works actually did the work along with Commissioner Gibbons. But we were able to put something together so that the residents can really, enjoy that gazebo area.
Can you talk more about the tree canopy?
Oh yeah, the tree canopy maintenance. So that was a project that we had. American Landscaping came out to do. They came out and did a survey. We had a survey of $44,000 worth of work that needed to be done throughout the whole town. And American Landscaping came out. They cut back trees from off of residents that was hanging, close to residents' houses, over their houses, causing some sort of a hazard. Trees that were dead, they were able to cut those trees down. And then do some overall just elevation on a lot of our trees that were hanging real low, stop signs or hanging low towards a place where a pedestrian can get smacked in the face with the tree. A lot of these trees are old and they're big, and Public Works is not certified to climb trees. So we can't just reach it and cut it. And of course, we have to get someone who's certified to come in, and American Landscape actually provided that for us. We're in the process now of getting them to come out to do another assessment because that project, it was 2 years before we actually approved that project. So there's other work that needs to be done. And we're going to move forward. We're trying to get some of that work done this year as well as next fiscal year. We did get a grant that paid for some of the tree removal of the dead trees, as well as purchasing new trees to plant in those, in place of the trees to be cut. So that helped us out a lot. Even though it says 44,000 up here, we didn't spend the whole 44,000. Some of that money came from the grant. Not a whole lot of it, but some of it did come from a grant that kind of reimbursed us for the money that we had to pay up front from ARPA. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Lee?
So is this the time that we have any requests for ARPA funds that we should address at this point, or you want to wait till the end to get a request for ARPA funds for the tree canopy work?
Let's go through everything that we've done so far,
Okay.
and we'll open the floor up for more questions.
Okay.
All right.
I just want to, Greg, you're really great, and we've had a committee of Vice City residents that have, are the tree canopy committee that has been working and doing all the surveying. If anyone's interested, we're going to do a walkthrough tomorrow night at 6 o'clock of all the new trees that were planted and to identify the additional trimming that needs to be done and plantings. So we're meeting here at 6 o'clock if anybody wants to join us.
I'd just like to add, actually asked, just for an update, on that earlier today. And she said that, now that the trees have blossomed.
Yes.
That, yeah, we can do more.
Right, that's why we're doing it tomorrow, because we couldn't assess that condition of the trees until the leaves come out.
Before we move on, can you check to see if there's any questions or comments in the chat? 'Cause I don't want to get people all saying. It looks like they gave you a comment.
And while they're doing that, one of the things that, needs to know, they need to understand that, the ARPA program first came out, they had certain standards. They've since changed those standards to have more, allow for more things to be done. Like they had limited restrictions on what you could use the money for, you know, and then it kind of opened it up to allowing us to use it back for some general fundings that cities in the town had needed. At no time that the town actually, outside of the only reduction in finance that the town did not receive, basically from the red light camera. We continue to receive all the other funds that were allocated to us through, you know, tax, property tax, personal property tax, and so on. So the town is never in type of distress. So this is an added thing to get a lot of things done for the things in our community. So I'll do that.
Okay, are you gonna cover the next topic?
Yeah, the public health and community assistance. One of the goals of ARPA is to provide direct assistance to individuals who have been affected by the pandemic. And we have the Family Relief Program to assist people up to $1,000 with utilities, rent, and mortgage assistance. And this program will continue until the next fiscal year. We also have the Business Relief Program to help businesses with utilities, rent, and mortgage assistance. Now, we allocated $100,000, but not a lot of businesses have taken advantage of it. So we're going to do more outreach to hopefully get more businesses to take advantage of this assistance. We also had a gas card program, and we allocated $10,000 for that. Almost all of those are gone. All of them are gone. We also had a food card program. Almost all of those are gone. So, and then we've also spent about $10,880 on COVID and emergency supplies. So those are some of the things that have gone directly to the residents from the town, and some other things that have been done just because you know, we have the town hall, but certain things need to be updated, such as, you know, the video equipment and computers and things like that. So those upgrades were done as well, just in terms of improving the efficiency of serving residents and the efficiency of staff doing their work as well. And there was an upgrade with the computers. So even though this was before me, ARPA allowed for extra premium, what they call premium pay for people or workers who were more at risk for working during the pandemic, or our frontline workers, you may call them. So that was police and public works, because no matter what, they still had to interface and do work, interact with the public. So as a result of that, you know, approximately $19,250 was given for that, because of that additional risk to them, because they are on the front line. And the Brentwood Volunteer Fire Department, if you all don't know, the Brentwood Volunteer Fire Department serves up Cotty City, Colmar Manor, Brentwood, and North Brentwood. So we contributed $30,000 to a pump truck which they were very appreciative of. I don't know if you all seen it. It's a very cool truck. It's like silver and black. So if you get a chance to see it, go look at it. It's really cool. And I think that's it.
But let me elaborate on the pump truck. Every year, we give to allocate a small fund for the fire department. Here's what people need to understand, and trust me, I'm a cheapest guy, you know, I don't must know. And looking, knowing what the fire department does, when you see a fire truck here, it's from them. And what they were actually considering is if they didn't have the proper trucks and stuff like that to continue to run that, they were gonna reallocate some of Prince George's County's fire stations and move things around. So your actual station, according to them, were further away, if indeed they had opted to shut that down, because that's what they were discussing at the time. Our fire department is not physically active as far as the number of members on the trucks, but they're still, you know, involved in the administration of it and stuff like that. And they actually help supplement the county. But they're our first line. They're the ones who show up every time. When you see a fire department truck come through, it's from them. And without that, that would create a further distance for them to be able to come. They would continue service further with no longer than our residents. So because ARPA was available to us, and it didn't actually have to come out of the town taxes and those essential everyday needs, it was an opportunity to be able to give them this money so they can get this truck to continue to operate. So.
Okay, so we've gone through everything that we have allocated so far. Now we're gonna open the floor up to any questions, comments. Ms. Hamlin, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf, should I go up there or just stand?
Where are you coming from? If you wanna get close to the mic.
So I don't have so they can hear you on the call. Okay, so I'm Denise Handler, and I'm here representing the Patty City Green Team, which is 11 residents that meet monthly to really keep our community green and safe. And we are a member of Sustainable Maryland, so we have a certification, and we go through recertification every 4 years. And every municipality except one in Prince George's County is a sustainable town. So we're really proud of that. So one of the projects the Green Team identified was that we have a mature tree canopy. You can see it's beautiful here, but a lot of our trees were aging and had not really been taken care of for a number of years, as Greg mentioned. And with the ongoing climate issues and weather, we saw a lot of branches falling on houses, cars. So we did a survey with American Landscaping to identify all the trees in the town that required attention. And so thanks to Greg and American Landscaping, they were able to do that last fall. And then we got the grant, thanks to Tracy, to plant 33 new trees and to remove some that were dead. So our goal for this next fiscal year, which is 23-24, is to continue to do that maintenance. Like I said, we have a walkthrough tomorrow to update the survey with American Landscaping. What are the trees that still need attention? They did not address the invasive vines, which we're going to be identifying on this next round. We've identified about 20 locations where new trees can be planted. We'll look at those, and we'll also monitor the new trees, the 33 trees that were planted and how they're doing. So the new thing this year, and so we asked the town for $79,000 for that budget line item, and I did that at the last budget meeting, understanding that some of that money could come from the pool of money that's left over from ARPA. We also were able to identify that there's at least 25 to 30 trees. So this is new. There's 25 to 30 trees on private property that are in desperate need of attention. Invasive vines are killing them. They're actually dead, or they have dangerous limbs that could fall on a house. Many of the property owners that we talk to are not able to afford the expense of having those trees either removed or maintained or trimmed or the vines removed. So we also asked in the budget this year that we look at putting $25,000 of the ARPA money into the availability of residents to apply for that money. And this would be to take care of the trees on private property. Now we would go, of course, go through our landscaper, and we would design an application process with the town so they could apply for those monies. Very similar to the money that the businesses are, the application process the businesses are going through. And that the green team and the tree canopy committee would, of course, in confidentiality, assist in any way possible to allocate those funds to people that are in need. So that's the pot of money new money that we're asking for this year, which is $25,000 out of the ARPA money to go to private property tree maintenance. We will identify tomorrow the most serious trees that we think need attention. So that's our request.
It's just one thing that from a legal perspective, on a program, you can't pigeonhole it for, it has to be available to everyone.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, while I appreciate, I think those people should take advantage of those who have those what's in, but it's not, even if you have a tree, and it may not be one of those that you still have.
All right, yeah.
You will still have the ability.
Right.
Because you can't utilize government.
Right.
Funding.
Yeah, we're just suggesting that there's certain trees, but yes, and we can't go on private property, so this is only what we can see from the sidewalk.
It's essentially a grant program.
Right.
Yes.
Right, that's what I said.
Yes.
Similar to the business stuff. So we're asking for 25,000. I think we will up more than that. But anyhow, we'll say 25,000, and we would hope that would go through. And also the Cottage City Garden has a request. And Diane, are you on the call? Diana Gillespie?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
So I'd like to turn it over to my co-lead the garden committee with Diane, and she has several requests for the ARPA money. So I'll turn it over.
Before you do that, could I just, before you leave the subject of trees, I would just like to say this beautiful and immense tree in my backyard.
Okay.
But there are branches that extend out over the house that's behind.
Okay.
Mine, not Richard's or Victor's, but the one behind
Okay,
our
got it.
house. And I'm worried about, the fact that a wind might fall and damage my neighbor's house. So I'm giving you permission to come on to my property.
Okay. So we'll definitely add, okay, thank you. We'll definitely add you to the list, okay? And if anybody else has a situation like that, just flag me. I do have to leave at 7:30 for another appointment in the neighborhood. So, but I want to make sure that Diane has a chance to. So, does that sound good to people? Yeah.
Yes.
And you want us to continue to maintain our beautiful tree canopy here?
It's such an improvement to our town, that tree outfit did last year, planting new trees and cutting down the dead ones.
And I want to thank Greg for their, there are 11 residents working on this. Just me, okay, 11 people.
Ms. Gillespie, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Great. We're having a little trouble hearing you guys, but I think whoever stands close to the mic, it's best. But hi, everyone. I'm Diana Gillespie, and as Denise mentioned, I'm one of the garden co-leads and probably the main liaison with the town and the commission. So thanks so much for giving us this opportunity. I do have 2 projects to mention, one very specific to the garden and then one related to the garden, but less specific. And I don't have the handout, so I'm not quite sure what all the guidelines are, but I'll just share these 2 ideas and you all can let me know if it falls within the parameters. So the first request is, again, very specific. The community garden, for those of you who haven't been or are not as familiar, is at the end of Cottage Terrace Avenue, 4222 Cottage Terrace Avenue, and it has 30 garden beds that can be rented every year for private consumption. And then we have communal rows in the back where, volunteers and just people who do not rent the actual beds can also come and volunteer and and harvest some fresh vegetables and things there. And so there are several families, over 30 families in Cottage City that participate in this. And this is one of the main sources of people's fresh vegetables. And also a great meeting and gathering space just to learn about how to keep healthy and garden, which has several benefits all around, health-wise, both physically and emotionally. So we're really proud. It's been going 13 years strong, and we just had a really great fundraiser this last weekend, very successful. We've been adding more beds, and that means we've got more folks partaking in all of the benefits of having a community garden in our town. So the garden meets on a monthly basis, and earlier this year, our very first meeting was about the projects that we have on the radar. So this first request is essentially a combination of several projects that we would like to do, but we often cannot do them all at once because we don't have enough funds available, and we just kind of need to sparse out the funds that we do get from fundraising and from the town. So four projects were mentioned specifically. So one is that our beekeeping committee has grown, and we've actually have 3 beehives right now. And so the bees help us, pollinate a lot of our vegetable plants so that we can continue to produce, vegetables throughout the year. And we've also been extracting honey every year and also selling that honey as a fundraiser for the garden as well. So we're growing. We started with 1 hive. Now we've got 3. Our beekeeping committee is also growing. And this last weekend, we received a huge donation of beekeeping materials, and we just have a growing, supply of resources, in all that it maintains, all that it requires to maintain these bees healthy and alive. And we realize that this equipment is expensive, it's very fragile, and our shed, the shed that we have in the garden now can no longer hold a lot of this equipment. Most of this equipment is like spread out in different people's homes and basements because it's just too big to store in the garden shed, or just too expensive, and we don't want anyone to accidentally, mishandle it. So one is to create a separate storage just to store our beekeeping supplies and materials, and so that we're not going from house to house to collect or to store things. The other is that we have been speaking to a volunteer architect about building a roof over one of our cisterns. And the commission is really familiar with this. It was an idea that was born out of Commissioner Givens. And so we're actually trying to see if we can, again, raise funds and have this actually built so that we could have a rainwater catchment system that funnels straight into the cistern. And that would require us building up on the cistern base that is already there. So that is the second one. And the third is, I mentioned that our garden is 13 years old, and it still has the original fencing from when it was created. And we've noticed that our back fencing has been taking a beating over the years. We've been repairing it in patches, but because of the vines that grow along the train tracks there, it's really difficult for us to maintain. And we know that sooner or later, we're going to have to rebuild that back fencing area because patching will only get us so far. And then the last specific request is to rebuild the remaining garden beds that are low. So if you've visited the garden, you'll see there's a combination of private garden beds. They're low wooden beds. By low, I mean they're probably just like a foot above the ground. And that was the original design of many of the beds. And then there are tall raised beds that are a little bit more easier for the elderly or people that may have a disability to garden. And they're also just more sustainable. So the tall raised beds are built with metal that lasts at least 10 years or more. And the wood does not last as long. They need to be replaced every couple of years. We don't use treated wood because we do try to maintain the organic gardening as much as possible. But that means that if we continue to use wood, we're just gonna continue to spend more money on building materials. So the raised metal beds actually allow us to save more of our funds because they're just, they last longer. So for these 4 projects, the beehive shed, the cistern, the roof over the cistern project, the fencing, and the remaining beds, we would request $25,000 to get those done. So that's one project that we would request funds for. The other, again, I'm not sure how much this would fall into the guidelines, but you know, happy to talk more. The other is more of a discussion in general about a position at the town that would be solely focused on community outreach and engagement and act as a bridge or a liaison to so many of the groups like the community garden, the green team, and I feel like other groups that are beginning to expand and have more resident participation. And at the same time, it's becoming more and more difficult to kind of just take care of all of the administrative duties that go along with having, you know, a really robust community garden and other residential groups. And I've also noticed that, you know, when the town has really great resources, like for example, you know, the gift cards and, you know, COVID pandemic relief, it's really difficult to get people to sign up for those cards or for those programs if they're not familiar with it, or they don't see people in the community that are, you know, actively trying to tell them about it. Oftentimes, you know, some of us answer questions for our neighbors, which is fine, but we don't have all of the information. I think it would be really great just to see more Cottage City residents taking care of a lot of the resources that exist. And just someone that is just out in the community that is, you know, interfacing all the time, even attending some of our meetings, whether they be garden or green team or anything, would be great. And I know there's, you know, cost to having a staff on board beyond this year, but I think there could be different ways that we could like experiment with having some kind of like, you know, a pilot of this type of staff person. And I know many community gardens in the area like Comar Manor, Mount Rainier, they have similar challenges. And it's possible, you know, some of the staff salary could come or be split amongst different towns to make up like perhaps one full-time position for a person that can liaise with the community garden and the other really active groups in town. So I'm happy to share some notes or more thoughts around like this community engagement type of person, but also wanted to share that with you all to hear thoughts about it.
Thank you, Diana, for your comments. In regards to the 4 projects for garden, I do believe they could possibly fall under ARPA as community service or community outreach. We'll have to research that. In regards to the position, the outreach position, this, you know, we would have to really look into that one because we only have the money for so long. It's not like they're gonna keep giving us money, so we would have to find a way to fund that position after the ARPA money is spent. But in regards to a position, we do have our grant manager, Tracy Gross, who is being paid through the ARPA funds. So that's how we were able to get her position. And if possible, we may be able to continue to have her to stay past 2026 is when the ARPA grant ends. So right now it's like a temp position, temporary, but it's a possibility that the position may go on longer without ARPA funds, but we'll have to figure that out, you know, later on. But that's one position that is being paid through ARPA, that is allowed.
But that's the only one on staff.
That's the only one on staff right now that is allowed to be paid through ARPA.
But that's an annual outlay that's not on here.
It's not listed, that's why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah.
It should have been there.
So the thought process was, and I'm sure Commissioner Chesney understands, she's the one who brought in former grant manager, Mr. Mosley. And a part of the advantage of having a grant manager is to be able to provide funding to the town, which we would have never gotten. I mean, commissioners, we're just average everyday people. People don't know how to write grants, you know, and so it takes a professional, someone who continuously does this, continuously to be able to take advantage, and so that we can benefit the town. You know, if it were not for Mr. Mosley, you wouldn't have the solar panels up there, which we actually get a revenue from that as a result. If it were not for Ms. McChesney, who wrote the grant for the garden, it would have taken longer for the grant because it started money to get that off the ground, you know? So these things require someone who's a professional.
But
And we're just-
Demetrius, that's not the question. The point
I'm
is,
not-
Tracy is
oh,
not on this list, so does that mean that we don't have that money?
This is, hold on, first of all, I wasn't asking the question. Second of all, I was making mention in regards to of the advantage of having her. And as far as, it's not on the list, as Commissioner Levy had indicated, it should have been on the list.
So then that means we're down to what, 200,000? I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of how much money is left. That's all that we're asking. How much money is left?
It's approximately 500,000. The reason why you don't have an exact number, because some of the program, the business has been allocated $100,000, but if no one has taken advantage of it, then it's not there. And what the commission has to do, they revisit those things, right? And then they say, okay, you know what, that program may not be working. So what we may have to do is we look at other programs that may need those funding sources. So it should have been on there, Sal, it should have been on. I was the one who mentioned it to Commissioner Levy, that was an advantage of utilizing that to bring her on board. So it does, and
Kyle, I think we lost the sound.
Yeah, we did.
Are there any questions from the Zoom?
Before you move to the Zoom group, let me mention this. One of the things that we just recently hired a full-time code enforcement officer. There's not enough, everyone knows that our issues are basically aesthetics throughout the town. It's not truly, it's always been a concern amongst the commission. There's not enough work for a full-time person, which is why we have established a part-time along with Palmer Atlanta, which unfortunately didn't really work out, person here in Cotton City. So with that said, a part of this code enforcement job, this code enforcement officer's job, it's a twofold. It also involves community relations. So that could be, he could be the liaison. He could act as a liaison, you know, with the garden in regards to their concerns and their needs. You know, so they'll have a point person to deal with in the town who's familiar with, because he does like community outreach, helps the police department with activities and other things, because it's just not enough for him. At some point, you know, he call himself a person cutting grass. You know, you gotta give him a chance to cut it, so they're gonna keep right around. So we want to make sure that they stay business and active, and be an advantage to the town. So that was one of the things I wanted to mention. That could be added.
Before we move on, are there any comments from the Zoom? Or any questions? I don't want to leave anyone out. So. While she's checking, does anyone else have any questions? Is a question?
I was gonna mention that I did have those on there and it's a total of $12,000.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's just basic.
Point of information is that. Are you the grant manager?
I know,
You are.
my name is Tracy,
I didn't, I didn't know we had grant managers, that you're here. Makes sense, like, bringing in your.
yeah. Working out with the work. Thank you.
May I have a question? On the same way, turning on, compared to what has been spent in the other areas, will that be increasing? Like I said, all of the cards are gone, all the gas cards are gone, with all the places. Insufficiency there is, this is really going up.
Well, to be honest with you, we were having a hard time pushing out gift cards. We were literally begging people to come get those cards. And the ones that really moved fast were the gas cards. So when we noticed that the gas cards were moving faster than the food cards, we reallocated more money to the gas cards. And we also made an exception where now, instead of one gas card per household, we're allowing 2 gas cards per household. And that will start for the next fiscal year. And the fiscal year starts July 1st. So starting July 1st, we will allow families to get more than 1 gas card.
But what about the food cards? Because I know people that have been trying away from getting the food cards.
I'm not sure about anyone being turned away. I'm not sure about anyone being turned
I
away.
was one of the ones turned away.
Okay, well, we'll have to find out about it. I'm not saying they weren't, I'm just saying I don't know anything about
No,
people.
I know that they were.
Okay, but we have decided to also reallocate more money to that program as well.
Great. Okay, would that just start, it won't start until next fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay, so, and how many, would it be, do you know how much money would be allocated?
How much money in total?
It will be allocated for next fiscal year for the cards. Or if they pay for this $25,000.
I think it was another 25. We did another 25,000.
But also understand that it's not like a monthly thing, right? So we have to have, everyone has to have an opportunity to get entitled to it. So, you know, if you've gotten one, then they have to kind of ensure that there's enough money there that everybody will be able to be entitled to. So it's not something they give out every month because you got one last month. So what they initially did is they did it for the year, and then now they're considering for another year, you know, for an additional gift card. So,
But with the amount of money that you have left, and the amount of money that you're allocating for other things like $1,000 for a tractor, and only $25,000.
well, you have to think about, food is,
I agree.
okay, but understand this. You have a hamburger, you eat it, it's gone. The top lot is years that of potential progression with children and so on and so forth. So the advantage of the community overall has a greater good. It's not to say that those people are in need. We're trying to provide a little bit something for everyone, you know, but that's just what the top lot costs. I mean, that top lot hasn't, I don't think the town, well, the town owned it. I don't think the town paid for Mr. Wesson could probably tell me better than anybody that's across the street. But I would say, I don't think the town paid for the rest of that equipment, right?
It came from Marcus Plan.
Right.
And that hasn't been updated in 30 years.
Yeah. So we have to think about the future as far as our children within the community. We understand that people have needs. We're sitting up here trying to advocate for that too. Some people have more needs than others. I never got a gas card and I never got a food card because I don't need one. So I need those things for those who may need them. And I think other people feel the same way. So we're not looking at those people who are needy, but we just can't give everything to the people who need more.
But if you had
if you said you were planning to give away the cards, and with the amount of money you had left, the amount of money that's been given out for different things, then you really have enough to give out cards once.
I agree with you, and I think you really might go back to that point. Recently, I advocated giving out more, and we did start to add to those funds, but that doesn't mean that we cannot add again. So thank you for bringing that up. I think you got it.
I mean, that's good to have a type like that, you know, benefit the community over years, but right now, with the inflation, people can eat, they're not alive.
Right, so, and we lost people from the town, which may be related to financial issues. I don't know, but certainly those financial issues are there. It's been a difficult time for a lot of people in terms of work and ability to go to another place to work, and so there's something.
Yeah, I was just gonna comment about something with Commissioner Young said, we allocated a certain amount, but that doesn't mean it's based on interest and how people are raising their voices about it. So if you're bringing it to our attention that you think that we can allocate more for, that's definitely something that we can revisit. We have, like in the past, had issues with getting them out and that recycles back into the fund, but we can potentially look at it, allocate more, because it go back, it just goes back into the fund. I think we have a budget meeting coming up, so we can look at that again. And please feel free to join also. I believe it's this Wednesday.
And you have to keep in mind that we have to look at the trend. So if we see that a certain program isn't moving well, then we have to revisit that program to see if there's another program that is in greater need. So if we hear what you're saying, ma'am, I didn't catch your name, but maybe you can give your information to the town manager. But this is the reason why we're having a meeting, to hear your thoughts and your concerns. So one of your concerns is that we need to put more money in the card program, and that's definitely something we'll take back to the table.
Or even have a pantry.
Miss, I don't know your name, but I've been trying to get a food pantry for Miss Davina. I've been trying to get a food pantry since before the pandemic started. You have no idea how hard I've been trying. We've had an application down with Capital Area Food Bank. They lost our application. We had to reapply. The pandemic hit. It's just been when I tell you, it's been a challenge to get this food pantry up and running. It has been a challenge. But I would love to take some of the ARPA money to start a food pantry. I would love to do that.
And I think that would be a better suited for funds as opposed to the gift card per se, because you get one gift card, and then that $25 or $50 is over. They were actually, it was so hard giving out gift cards. They were giving out people, you can't even vote, they gave you a gift card, a food card, which I'm offended by.
And you got vaccinated.
They give you a gift card because they were gotta give them out, gotta get them out, and so this man dashed them out. But I'm more so, if you need it, then I think you should be able to get it. And so a food pantry, those who may have the ability to go to a food pantry because they didn't actually have a need for it. I think that's where you actually see the growth, a better impact.
Yeah, I think there's another thing that you need to think about, and that is how we get in touch with people who want to be on a list to get emails or text messages. That's one way, but I'm not sure how many people actually get messages that way. So, if anyone has any ideas about how to better get out something, so people will know about it, and people will then come and ask for things, that would be great to hear. So
I just wanted to throw out there, sorry, somebody else?
Yes, this lady right here had a question, then we'll come.
Okay.
Ma'am, you want to?
My question was, just in your budget, have you all thought about putting new lights, street lights up? Yeah, down by 30, 4208, all the way down to the garden. We need lights down there, just dark.
Yeah, there needs to be an assessment of the whole town, because there is a lot of dark
We
And the
just have,
code doesn't do it.
and does,
I think Mr. Pickney needs to speak up in regards to these issues.
there's a bug, there's a bug that's going, comes on about 3 minutes and it'll go off again.
That's because they're going out.
I can tell you this, we just did an assessment last week and we just ignored it in foremost. So we just reassessed it. Yeah, we had a follow up today and to resubmit the user request and get feedback. Did you have a response?
I have not.
And we just did it today, so we're just waiting for it to
Start that.
Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna let others work in.
So-
Commissioner, one moment. Commissioners, when you're not speaking, can you turn off your mic?
My
Because we're
mic is
getting
off.
feedback.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's no one back here.
Well, I
He's trying to answer her question.
So our police department, like, at least once a week, if not twice a week, ride around just to do light checks. And they usually send myself, the chief, and the town manager, whatever list of lights that are out. We've had times where we've had 15 lights that were out. We've had times where all the lights were working. But as soon as they give us those lights, we send them in the PEPCO and we get them out. And just recently, PEPCO has kind of dragged their tail on coming out to do the work. So town manager actually reached out to them, and I think that's what Commissioner Gary was just talking about. The assessment that we had with the town manager had to reach out to the to PEPCO, to their government affairs department, because no one has come out to address the issues. As far as the light on Cottage Terrace, they are putting in an additional pole on Cottage Terrace, the underground poles that's kind of in the dark area, in the underground wiring area. They're gonna put another pole down there, and we're still waiting for them. I think it's another light that's out, that's underground wiring. We're still waiting on them to come and repair that. They did repair the one all the way down by the garden that was leaning over to the side. They got that one back up, but they haven't started to dig for the new light that's supposed to go down. So once the new light go down, then we'll get have another assessment to see how dark it's down there. When that new light go up and the other bulb gets put in, we'll be able to tell, what the lighting is down there. Also, on Cottage Terrace in Ward 1, there's supposed to be another pole that's gonna have light over there, because there's a dark area on Parkwood Street, right there, Parkwood, in between 37th Place and 37th Avenue, close to your house. There's a pole that's gonna have a light on that pole as well to bring some light over there. So there is some more. We're looking to have a meeting with PEPCO and try to get either them to come out at night and we all walk around and do an assessment to see these dark areas at, or something, because we have been getting complaints about lights going out. They're flickering. Usually if they're flickering, then that means they're about to go out.
but it's been doing that 2 years. 2 years, I know.
And some of it, I know some of it has the wiring issues. That's why we've seen them on various streets kind of messing with the wires, redoing wires and stuff like that. But some of the wires are old. But we don't know. Only they would know which wires are old, which lights are old that need to be replaced. And they have replaced some telephone poles with new lights, but they haven't done the whole town. They are looking still to go to LED lights, but they put that bill in and it didn't pass. So they wasn't able to give us all LED lights. I think that's something that they're going to reevaluate and push that bill in again. But right now, it's just a matter of getting all the lights working, and they stay working. So we're working hard on that. That's kind of like at the top of our priority for me and Ms. Richardson.
But just want you to know that the town is at the mercy of PEPCO. You don't have the ability to call in a third party company to check any lights.
Right.
These lights, we pay for the electricity, and they'll tell us what type of lights they're gonna put up based on what their policies are, so on and so forth. We can ask and we can request, but we're at the mercy. I know the 2 lights been down on 40th place, but I hate to go down the street and finally they're all down. And that's been like at least 6 months. you know, and I think they're not, but they are called. So we are addressing just, business.
It'll take 2 years.
But yeah, I agree, but I work with that. You know, we don't work with that, but we can all make a request.
And you can also go on, it helps when you guys do it as well, but you can also go on Petco's website. And they have when you can report an outage, and you just go on there. If you don't have the phone number, you can just put the address that the phone's in front of it, and they'll find it based off of that. But it also helps when you guys are putting the complaints in, and then we put the complaints in, it's like they get it from each side. So that helps us out as well.
I just wanted to piggyback off of, your concerns that the cards, it is partly with the advertising and getting the word out, because I know several people who are, having, some financial difficulty, and when I did tell them about the program, they just have to go through. Either it's a matter of reading newsletters or whatever the case is, but along the lines of the food bank idea, count me in to do whatever it takes to get it up and running. You all have me. I'm ready. Let's do it. Like,
What's your name, sir?
William Knight.
William, okay,
Yeah.
William.
I recorded you a lot.
I thought that was
Yeah.
you.
And just in getting the word out, whatever it takes, I feel pretty passionate about making this happen. I mean, I'm just me, I'm not gonna have to engage with it, but another person, it sounds like a pretty good idea.
If we can get a committee going, that'd be great. If anyone else is interested in, being a part of the food pantry, please let me know.
Yes.
I am, but I also have a question. In terms of the process of application, if we have funding, money, can we just stop food banks until that process is finalized with the food bank?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. We had partnered with the church on 40. We had partnered with them. 40. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We had partnered with them because you have to have a 501c. You have to be a nonprofit to get a partnership with Capital Area Food Bank. So we had planned partnership with the church. So we have the facility, we have everything set up. We turned in the application, we paid our registration fee. It's just that Capital Area Food Bank, they just kind of dropped the ball, and then the pandemic hit, and the person that was assigned to us got another position, so they were trying to scramble to get someone else to replace that person, and then they were trying to catch up again, and lost the application, so we reapplied back in January, right? I haven't heard anything else since. So, do you have any updates?
I do not at this time.
See, it's kind of like your hands are tied. You're at the mercy of this organization. But one thing that did come up, we talked about doing a share program instead of doing a food pantry, which is similar to a food pantry, but it would be a share program where you only pay about $20 or $30, but you get so much more for it. But we would set it up as a grant program where the town would actually pay for your membership. I think we're gonna do it for like a year or however long the ARPA funds last. But we're still trying to get Capital Area Food Bank to work with us. But if that doesn't work out, I think the next option is gonna be a share program. Because for some reason, Capital Area, they just kind of dragging their feet, but I really want to get this. I would love to do both. I would love to do anything. I just want to do a food pantry. That's like a passion. I have just had such a hard time getting it off the ground. So anyone interested, please sign up. I'll give you my card. We can have a meeting to meet with the town manager. As you know, we've been trying. We have been trying.
We have that federal alternative from Riverdale, where there's one, a food pantry over in Riverdale, they offer to help out over here. But because we were expecting Capital Area Food Bank to come in, we heard that now, so, I mean, there are options out there. Focus in on it, if everyone can actually start doing something.
Sign up sheet. I'm doing it. Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone else have any suggestions Mr.
Yeah,
Brooks?
hey, I'm John Brooks, and good evening, everybody. I'm sorry, I got really excited about the issue earlier. If there is ARPA funding left, one thing I'd really like to see, we have increased traffic through here. I'm joining a huge chorus of people, I'm sure. But if there's anything that can be done, we're not getting the respectful drivers. We're getting the ones running the stop signs. So if there is any funding, it would be great to really put some of it, trying to slow the traffic down through.
Well, I believe we did use some of the ARPA money to put the speed signs in. You see
Yeah.
around town, you have those speed signs.
Oh, yeah.
That we're supposed to deter people from driving so fast.
I'm sure they deter, but they don't get people and stuff.
They, I can't tell you how many people actually just flow right through a stop sign. I mean, they do it every day, all day, and I'm like, where are the police? I want to say, I wish I had a camera so I could take
But
pictures.
they're not gonna be able to stop everybody.
I know,
So maybe-
because it's just too many of them.
I hate it speed bumps, but I mean, if that's what it takes to slow people. We have a lot of children playing.
The police don't do that with some new equipment, so, temporary dogs, people are just letting the chief know, and he can move that equipment over to that area.
Were there any particular streets that you wanted to be?
Bunker Hill, Cottage Terrace.
So on Cottage Terrace, I've been trying to get signatures for Cottage Terrace, I'm about 60%, and from what I understand, it takes 75%, but you're going to try to lower the threshold and get a vote on it, through the commissioners. So I was just hoping that y'all could kind of push that along because, I'm right at the corner of Shepherd and Cottage, and on a constant basis, like sometimes up to 40 miles an hour through that one stop sign. And there's a 25-mile-an-hour bit there, and that they don't get there.
Exactly.
There's one on Bunker Hill as well, that it's almost like people can't see.
I know. Okay, 1 minute. Was there someone in the back that was?
I just want to take that, thank you for that. We have a beautiful new opera space, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful, and is a huge magnet for children and families. And that intersection right there by the top, where you place in Parkland Street, ID part of the Cottage Speedway. Okay? And the sign that says how fast you were going is irrelevant, it's needed. There needs to be some, I know Greg doesn't want speed bumps, Greg doesn't want rumble strip because it's terribly powerful. And he'll take out the speed bumps. I know I've done it in years past. So, but there is technical stuff out there. Get the cameras, we'll issue a ticket for anybody that goes over the speed limit. That's what we need, not something that says how fast we're going. We need a speed camera. And I'm sure that intersection right there is not the only one that you said in town, but you're gonna have a tremendous influx of certain families now with that top. It was wonderful before, but it's a lot better now. And something's gonna happen. And I believe it's the town's responsibility to do 100% of everything they can to reduce the possibility of someone getting killed or whatever at that intersection. Not that any intersection is good, but that's the magnet intersection right now for children and families. So I think that if I propose that some significant amount of money with this ARPA funding be put into a task force and equipment to monitor at least that area.
Let me speak to that, because allow me to speak to that. There's a law. The law just got changed the last year and a half. So for the speed camera, it used to be only in school zones. Okay, so now it is for like other places, residential zones that require, that need those type of listings. But what happens is, if you don't see a stop sign, you know this, if you're a police officer. The speed limit is private base is 25 miles an hour. The law stipulates that you cannot receive a ticket
through the speed camera program until you're 12 miles over that. So at that point, you're talking about the person would have to be going 37 miles an hour.
That's easy.
Hold on, let me finish. Well, we say that, right? Because it's a perception thing. So when we do consider like speed cameras, which we consider, you know, we have two that are coming out away from the road. What they come out and do, the companies do, is they come out and do a feasibility study. Those speed cameras, it serves a twofold purpose, right? It does help us control, you know, slow down the traffic. Right now, they're still giving out warnings, and then it'll go into effect, and people will, you know, money seems to get people's undivided attention. So, but also, if there's not enough, when they do their feasibility study, if there's not enough traffic, they won't put one in. Because at that, you have to understand, these companies that do this, it's a business for them. And so they spend thousands and thousands of dollars putting this stuff in, and they want, it's gotta be profitable for them as well. So they're not going to put one in if it's not the opportunity for it to be financially feasible for them. And the reality is, any speed camera system, just like a red light camera system, over a period of time, yeah, people will start actually obeying, right? It costs $30,000 each for those speed cameras to be put in just on Lindsburg Road, because you got electricity and so on and so forth. And then every month they charge us for those programs to be out there. So I hear you. I think that there are other things that we continue. We should have a dialogue, and I know we've been dealing with this since Commissioner McChesney was on. We talked about redirecting, you know, as far as traffic patterns in the town. And, you know, have you seen it like Bowie and stuff like that? They have, you know, they put circles in and so on and so forth. So we got to continue to think along those lines. Yeah, there are speeding, but you know, no one's out there with a radar and all the time, you know, clocking people at 40 miles, at 37 miles an hour. You know, there are people who do speed, you know, and they deserve tickets. And I think we do have to continue to address that with enforcement. And the purpose of putting that the monitor, tell you, is to try to get people's attention, right? I suggested that. And whether it works or not, we gotta try something. So we have to hold on.
Yeah, I think I want to go out and find safety issues for communities to find money to help pay for this and do whatever. I understand these businesses, but by the same token, we're looking at the safety of the residents of this town.
But you have to consider also the law. The law stipulates, we don't make the law. It's the law's not made up here. It's made in Annapolis.
Let's go change it.
Well, then we can advocate to change it.
I think we have to look at speed.
Yeah, I think the speed bumps have been a deterrent, and
you're going to pay to repair your
created
car.
that, started that.
Can I speak to this a little bit? We were having Lanesburg Road today to put our speed cameras up, the ones that we're working on now. The issue came up about kind of doing an internal study also. I think I spoke with the chief about this, and some of you who are on the line remember that. But what we can do, we have a lot of these equipment that is kind of monitoring the internal speed within the city. We can do a feasibility study to see what the most traffic time of day is for that speed, and we can kind of, in the meantime, until we figure out how we're going to address the issue, we can just have police officers stationed at certain points in the city, certain times of the day when it's most highly trafficked to address it. And that would be a good tip.
Well, just Chief Ayers, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
This Chief Ayers, well, we have been working on that very hard. Our officers have been closing off Parkwood as well as other streets for them not to cut through during certain hours. We also have been enforcing the stop signs as well as putting cones out on Parkwood Street to keep them from coming off of 38th during a rush hour. We also worked with State Highway Administration to actually keep the traffic on 38th at a minimum by opening up the 2 lanes, so you have a turn lane that has no people parking on 38th Avenue to keep the traffic flowing through rush hour. That's been working out. We have less cars going through our town as we speak on a daily basis because of these efforts we're doing. So we working on the speeding problems on within the town. So it's not like, we're not doing anything. So we are working on it. We have records of showing that we out there. We have records that we can share with the gentleman in reference to all our correspondence back and forth with State Highway Administration in reference to 38th Avenue. Most of the people are cutting through because of the traffic on 38th Avenue. We have reduced that by working with State Highway Administration to widen that road. They repaved it. Maybe they repainted it. They put down no parking on that side on 38th to keep the traffic staying on 38th, stuff cutting through the road. So we are doing things to help out with the situation. So we don't take it lightly. In reference to speed cameras, we're not going to be able to put speed cameras within the town because it's not going to make enough of a difference to actually keep a company to have that expensive equipment inside town. It's not going to be able to be done. But we can do other efforts. So if the guy can get my telephone number, I'll be happy to sit down with him, talk to him about it, and tell him what we're doing and what we're going about to do with some other initiatives.
And I would say this, we already have, we're already looking at that. One of our last meetings when we discussed this, I asked the chief to kind of do a little internal study, so we're definitely working on that. But I'll say this, chief, can you answer a quick question? I know when we bought those speed signs, we were told that they give feedback to you about the internal speed. They're not just regular.
What happens is not consistent. We have asked our speed partner, a Red Speed, to put out strips for a 2 weeks period to actually gauge how much speeders come through there. It's very rarely you have speeders, but when it comes speed through, it is a problem because they are speeding. But it's not to a point where it's consistent, non-stop speeding. It's like might be one car one day came through there flying. That's all it takes to hit a cow. So we had to do things within our town and within reason to address these issues. So I had no problem sitting down with the gentleman and talk about some kind of ways we can address this issue because we don't want no kids or anybody get hurt out there. But at the same time, we have to be reasonable what we can do and what we can't do. But I'm going to sit down with him to talk about some of the strategy we about to do. And I had no problem sitting with him to hear his concerns. So if someone can give him my number, I'll be happy to talk to him tomorrow. I can give him a call tomorrow.
All right, Chief, we'll get his contact information. Mr. Pippin, you want to say something?
Yeah, so, and the survey that the chief was talking about was actually done on the street that you're referring to. And at this point, the only thing that's really, yes, I don't like speed humps. I don't like hump strips because, yes, we will tear them up with pliers. But at the end of the day, that's the only option that we really have. So if residents are willing to go and get the petition, have it signed with 75% of the residents on that block, we will. The commission has already said if we get them, they'll approve it, and we will put those speed humps in. It's just a matter of making sure that that's what, not just what you want, but what your block collectively want. So if we can get those petitions in and, put it in front of the commission so that they can approve them, then we will do our due diligence in getting those speed humps out. At this point, within the internal streets of College City, that's the only real option that we have, because yes, they're not going to pay attention to the stop sign. They're not going to pay attention to the speed devices. Nothing that we put out there that is not causing them to stop or slow down, they're not going to pay no attention to. If they want to go through, they don't live here, they don't care, they just going to go through. So that's the only thing that we really have in our hands that will be effective, is to just put the speed humps out. But we need the residents' participation. Now for your block, right, but for your block, I put this out to the commission to consider for College Terrace, the block that you live on. That block is a long stretch of street. It's like 3 blocks worth of street. So he has to do a lot of walking and try to get a lot of residents to put it in. So we might want to change that.
Okay, so wait a minute, so you're on College Terrace, so you're talking about both sides?
No, he's on Commissioner Gibbs' side of College Terrace.
But he has to get that whole.
In order to get 75% of that, of College Terrace, because it's not broken up into multiple blocks. You got the 4100, 4,000, 4100, 42, but it's only one stop sign there.
I think, okay, so let me
Might want to divide it up.
Allow me to speak to it because the program was with the inception with Commissioner McChesney. And we have to consider everyone, right? But it's a guideline. It's like anything else. So it doesn't pigeonhole us, but we have to come up with a number. So that's a number we came up with, a fair number, right? It doesn't mean that we couldn't consider other numbers, but somebody's got to turn this up. We can't just have people come and say, well, we got to have a speed bump, and there's no documentation, because while you might want a speed bump, and you may feel like it's needed, some people may not necessarily want one because they say that's the cars and so on and so forth. So we have to look at the overall listening of the community. So what I would suggest to you, and I've said this in the meeting, I'm not sure why, you turn it in, and then the commission, speaks to the chief of public works, and they consider it. They have to have a base. If you had 20%, then yeah, it's unlikely that they probably put one through. If you have 60, that's not that far of considering the overall good of the community and that. So we did have to come up with a number, just so you know, and that's why it does have only 75%.
But he asked a question, would you all consider lowering the threshold?
No, I don't think, we talked about that, but because some people, there's 4 houses on the street of over 38. And so,
Okay, well, just to speak on the street here, I don't know how many, I actually have 36 houses.
Okay.
I have 16 houses inside. One person said no, and there's at least 6 houses.
Present that.
I think I'm a dual witness there.
Well, present that to the commission present that to the commission for consideration, and I'm sure that they definitely take those, because that's information that we don't have. We don't know that.
Okay, so I'll turn this over.
And I'm sorry to keep mentioning your name, but I guess Chester, because you were a part of putting these things together, so you can understand that it wasn't done out of a back, it was done with a lot of thought to a lot of different people over a period of time.
Okay, it's 8:05, 6. Are there any other suggestions or any other projects you want seen done in town? Yes, ma'am.
Very fast, but what affects my quality of life are mosquitoes. That's my. Or what?
Mosquitoes.
Oh, mosquitoes.
Yeah, we're still doing the program. We're still in the program. I mean, can we do more? Maybe.
Well, let's hear your suggestion. You have a suggestion?
So I don't have anything specific. I know that recently in the Brentwood listserv, they were tossing around the CO2 traps that are insanely expensive. Individual residents are paying out $300 for these CO2 traps in their backyard. And that requires a canister that must be refilled like every 3 weeks. It's crazy. No individual person is going to do that. But is that something that the town would look into?
We can definitely look into it and see if it would qualify for a project or program under ARPA. Can definitely do that.
Well, I'm glad, and I would like to know if you all plan on doing anything else for the over in the senior citizen building, the park over there. Are y'all gonna finish cutting down the trees over there?
Are you talking about the towers?
I'm talking about the park over there. Behind my house, behind the house.
You talking about the city park?
I don't know whether that's the city or not.
Okay, so where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in 4200 block, College Terrace, in the back.
Okay, so.
I'm talking about in the back, so where the fences are back there in the back, and then it stopped at a certain limit.
Okay, I'm
It
gonna
stopped at 40, I think it stopped at 42, 13.
Okay, Ms. Richardson, you wanna answer that one, because you contact the towers. Okay,
Oh, yes. So I months ago, I contacted Towers about it, the trees. And I spoke to the resident manager at that time. I never heard anything back. The issue was brought up again by Commissioner Yuri. I reached out again But I didn't go to the property manager. I went to the head of the real estate division for the housing department. Okay, so I took it to the person who's over that. So I got a message back from him. He had been out of the office, and I followed up with him today about that, because those trees, there's one hanging over someone's house and they've fallen on fences. And it's been
Right.
neglect. It's
It
been
is.
neglect.
It stopped right there at 4213. I know that I thought that used to be a parking plan. Is that parking plan?
No, it's a county.
It's county.
Housing authority.
County, housing.
Yeah.
I think we had this discussion, like a little bit, I think some of the things that we've thrown out for that, is potentially doing the work ourselves. If they don't respond, we can begin to find them. And also, we were thinking about actually just doing the work ourselves and then.
No.
Well, what I was saying.
No, we can't go on their property.
Don't forget.
So,
Reason why I asked that, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Spring is coming, spring is here, it's summer and all, the snakes start coming.
so what I'm saying is, there was an aspect of it that we were discussing. For one, if there's hangover onto someone's property, they're able to trim that back. We discussed that with the lawyer, and that can be done. That's the first thing. The other thing is, I think with the grant that is mentioned, it's a little bit complicated when it comes to the public property, but when it comes to some of the sidewalks and some of overhang from neighborhoods, we were going to work with them to get some of those streets taken care of as well. But I would say this, with that issue, I know that we talked to Carol about it. We had a whole tree that fell on somebody's property. We're elevating the issue right now. We've already had those discussions, but I wanted to go back. I'm sorry, what was your name? The hat, mosquito? Aileen. Issue Aileen. So for that, we have a new public works officer. What we've done in the past is just to make sure that no one has that standing. The mosquito, yes, we have a public works officer. What we've done in the past is make sure that there's no city water. We have tire shops, making sure that there's no city water.
I mean, I have a neighbor with plastic tarps who's had them out for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not cutting it.
It's not cutting it. Okay, well, we can definitely make sure that he goes around and does a survey of that. We can add that to the list of things that are underway right now so that can be addressed. But if there's something like that, please pass it forward. If you haven't addressed it, you're gonna kind of privately let us know so we can actually go out. My neighbor had the same issue. We had to have some tires overturned the tire shop that's near my own house. So if you want to pass that forward, a specific request, we will answer it.
Any other suggestions or projects like to see done?
I just had a quick question about the sign, how should we sign top of the, I respect where it used to say, United Diversity, except the fall off, take it off. Or the young people,
Where's that?
right at the top of the Times Square.
Yeah, that,
It fell down.
so, and so right now, we're concerned,
That's not the only sign that's got damaged. One up on 38th and, I'm sorry, Eastern Avenue and Ladesburg Road got hit by a car some years ago, and we haven't replaced it. So the idea, the thought process, Commission, we're doing a lot of stuff. We, it really takes, it takes a lot to do. People don't really know how much work it requires to do this job, and we can't do it all. So what I would say, in hopes, how we came up with United and Diversity? Commission didn't decide that. You all decided that. So we put the onus on you. So I would say, in order for the sign, we're talking about development sign. We would want to develop based on what we like. But ultimately, we can give you a framework, and then you guys can, as a community, can decide what signs that you like. Because ultimately, we're just elected officials up here. Ultimately, the United Diversity was a number of slogans that were out there. You made that decision. Commission didn't make that decision. Voted on it. They voted. People that showed up voted on it, and that was it. So I would say, because we got a lot of projects, and I want to sign up. Trust me, I've been complaining about it. but we really do need some people to help us out, and so if you come up with I still want, what I would still love is somebody to come up with a pamphlet, a trifold pamphlet about Cottage City. About, when people move into the town or people come visiting the town, we talk about, the inception, how it developed and how it's progressed to where we're at and where we're going in the future, perhaps. But no one's been able to, the commission can't do it all. So there's a lot of ideas that we all have. It's going to take somebody to make it work. So I hope that we can consider having this dialogue and perhaps get citizens to get involved in that process.
Okay, before we wrap up, I just want to a couple of projects that we have talked about and we haven't actually committed to, but we have discussed. We discussed beautification for the residents, we do a facade improvement, which would help maybe with, I don't know if we include landscaping, but we say maybe helping with like siding, painting their houses, not roofing, okay, doors, windows, stuff like that, anything to beautify your home and the community. That's one project discussed. We've also discussed stormwater management. As you know, for those who live in the lower part of the town, like Ms. Colleen, 43rd is water always forming or pooling at the end or the beginning of the street. And so we've had SHA and other departments, DPI come out and they've done some grading and milling and stuff to try to get that fixed. But we also discussed a possible grant program to help those residents on that street install a, what's the thing, the thing that goes? The adapter, to help them with it, because we know that costs money and that everyone may not be able to afford it. So we talked about doing that as a grant program and ARPA funds to do that. So, and we looked at some of the alleyways in Ward 1 and Ward 3 and
Parkwood Court.
Parkwood Court.
Bunker Hill Road.
Parkwood Street, beginning of Parkwood Street. Well, I guess it's Bunker Hill.
Bunker Hill, Parkwood Court.
We're looking at trying to fix the stormwater management concerns in that area. And so that's another project that we've talked about, and we're also looking for grant money because we all know stormwater management in Prince George's County is a major problem. If you remember about 2 years ago, they had a big storm and there was a lot of municipalities that got flooded. Thankfully, Cottage City wasn't that much damage. I think over by Newland Creek, there was some backyards that flooded. Down at the bottom of Bunker Hill, I think those houses flooded or just their basements flooded. But luckily, our pumping station did not fail. So we were spared, but we still have stormwater management issues. So that's another project that we're looking at. And it does fall under the ARPA funds. So if you can think of anything else, like you may not think of everything tonight, but if you think of a project that you think or something you'd like to see done in the town, feel free to contact the town manager, give her your ideas, your suggestions. I think we should have another meeting. I don't think we should stop the dialogue because even though we had a good turnout, there are probably some people who couldn't make the meeting tonight, and we still want to hear from everyone. We want to be very transparent about how we're spending the funds. So, and we want you to be a part of the discussion. We want you to be a part of any projects and ideas that we come up with, because we don't want you to think that, oh, Cottage City got $1.1 million, and we don't know what they did with the money. So that's why we're having a community discussion. That's what we want to hear from you. So anything, whether it gets done or not, please bring it to us so we can put it on the table and we can discuss it and see if there's a way we can make it happen. So I'm going to wrap it up.
But I want to follow up on that. Before you no, I just want to follow up on the issue on 43rd. That problem's been going on for years. And we actually recently, with the chief's help, we actually hired an engineer and I think the price tag was over $1 million.
Yeah, it was close to $1 million. It was
Close to $1 million.
Between $700,000 and $800,000 just to fix that one.
Just to fix that one street. And I mean, and so we're looking for options and opportunities as well as grant funding to be able to fund those types of things. So it's not dismissed. We just, we have to think about a lot of what we do up here is I'm cheap. Everybody knows me, tell you I'm cheap. I don't spend no money. But I know that certain things that we do have to do. But we also have to think about the longevity. Some of this is tied to how much taxes you pay in comparison to the neighbors across, around you, your surrounding area. having affordability, having those elderly people not have to move out of town because they can't afford it. Younger people can afford the increases in tax and stuff like that, because their life will continue, their job will, but some of these older people, they can't afford it, and then they wind up getting, and being forced to kind of move out, and through, and I don't want to get into that part of gentrification, but that's what occurs, and these neighborhoods transition, and some of this is going to change naturally, and we have to understand and respect that, but I still want to be a good, safe, that's why I'm happy with the police department that we have, an affordable place that people can afford to continue to live. So we have other things that we want to hear. We're trying, we're looking at the park. You can talk about the park down there that you guys are working on.
As you know, we've been working with Neighborhood Design Center. We've been working with Park and Planning to update our city park. We do have some really nice ideas. Neighborhood Design Center came up with some really lovely designs and some new equipment that we could put inside the park. Of course, we can't do anything without park and planning. Where's the park? The park is located at the end of City Bunker Hill Road.
On Cottage Terrace, right up?
No, all the way down Bunker Hill Road. When you come out on our street, you make a left, you go all the way down to the dead end, park on the left hand side.
Where we hold Cottage City.
Okay.
Yeah, we hold Cottage City.
So over there.
Yes, we're trying to get that part updated. I don't know if we agreed to use our funds to do that because we want park and planning. So, but we are trying to get park and planning to do as much as they can to update that park, because that park hasn't seen any new equipment and some of the stuff is very outdated. So that's another project that we're working on. We're also working or asking park and planning to see if they can do something to improve the soccer field over there by the park, because if a lot of the ground is unlevel. Feedback. The ground is unlevel. The ground is unlevel. The water puddles there, again, causing more mosquitoes. And a lot of the younger people like to go out there and play soccer in the summertime. So we're asking park and planning to, I think you call it regraded, or resod it. And then we had talked about getting a walking, a track to go around the soccer field, a rubber track to help with the seniors who don't want to go all the way into the trail, but they still want to get some type of exercise, and it would be out in the open and they feel safe. And we had talked about, we talked about different things like do things, pickleball. I don't know if any of you heard of it, but that's like a new thing that's out. And we talked about maybe installing some new things called that you can put a tennis. I can't think of it. But it's something, it's like we can have half the court would be basketball and then half the court would be a tennis court or pickleball court. And that's what they were trying to do. So there's so many things that we, as a commission, we are trying to do inside of the city. We're trying not to spend taxpayer dollars to do. And our best is not raise taxes. So that's why we have these growth to help with grants, so she go out there, get as much money as she can to help us pay for some of these projects. But again, this is not the end of the conversation. We definitely want to hear from you. So I have my business cards. Anyone who's interested in food pantry, please come see me. I have cards and we can conversate with them more. But I think we should have another meeting. I really do. Yes,
I just say, I think this meeting and this discussion is a testimony to what the town.
Amen. Yep, and commission.
Thank
Also,
you.
one of our guys in meetings and our budget meetings.
Or in Zoom, you don't have to. You
I could,
don't have to show up here, just go on Zoom. I'm an advocate for showing up on the Zoom or whatever, because I think people need to know what it is that we're doing. We're doing a lot, just so you know.
Go to the website, it always tells you what's coming up.
And read the newsletters. I know they're kind of long, but there's a lot of good information.
Can I also say that, I don't know if the entire commission is aware that, we've also been discussing, extending some of the ARPA funds to, not just utilities and rent, but also possibly home. And so that's something. Not the side, but just also.
That's
Possibly, just to be more specific, possibly in other home,
Not roofing.
Roofing out, we're not doing
We discussed it.
We can't afford it, we can't afford it.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to say one thing. I know a lot of people have been seeing, there are a lot of dogs in the town. And some of them are pooping on the west end. And that's unfortunate. We're out, that's why I'm trying to make sure that our public works is putting out these doggy bags, on a regular. And also, one of the applications that I don't have a dog, but I've been a huge advocate for a dog park. Because they do need a place to roam and stuff like that. And, but unfortunately, the downside is where I wanted to put the dog park was in the park down at the town, at the Maryland National Parks down in Cop City. They said, ultimately they came back and they did an assessment. And they said, no, we can't do it because of,
It's because of the anacostia.
Yeah,
It's not water, feces, mixed with water and.
So we're not giving
That's
up,
not a good location.
but we're not giving up. I mean, the downside to it is that the town doesn't own a lot of properties. I think we only have a couple of places there. But we're still looking at other options, possibly that we can do for a long-term commitment, and in hopes that if we can, if we can continue to move forward and acquire this property next door for our community center. I came up with the idea, and I'm hoping the commission will consider if we want to be acquired, at some point, we're gonna have to raise it. So once we raise it, we could potentially put a temporary dog park if they would approve it until such time we can have a long-term solution to that. I mean, it's basically fencing and some activities for the dogs, but at least you do something, because it's gonna take a couple of years to raise the money. We're not looking at going into our savings and spending all the money that we have and then having to raise the tax. That's not the goal. The goal is to have bond opportunities and grant funding, but it would all come, all of that would be a consideration on the table for the commission to make that decision. And of course, any input that you all have as a community would be helpful. So, thank you.
Do we have any locations in mind of like where? Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
Is there anything else, anybody else?
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, everyone.
I just looked at it.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Young seconds. All in favor?
What's going on? No problem.
Not going the other way.
Well, we don't have no power over these people down in that. You know that.
I know.
He can go down there with you. Go down there with you. He said we don't have to jail. He said I'm happy that they're allowing us to be able to do it more than just the school zone, because it affects, the speeding affects everybody. You know, people got to get out here and make fun of them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not dismissive of our speed for you guys, but a lot of it residents say that their cars are speeding over, and they're really not. They're going 25.
Hi, everyone. The meeting has been adjourned.